so you'll have a basic idea. So we did this yesterday, and we went through the whole process. 1175, 40 hours came out to what, 470?
Sure.
And then it was 50 weeks at 23,500. 1,958 and 33 cents. Okay, so we figured that out first. Next time we do this, there'll be 3 different versions of this, so you guys will have to kind of work independently on this. That number goes right here. This is the new piece. Okay, so all of us should be starting out with the exact same number right there, 1,958 and 33 cents, top right corner. Good. Then we got through the rentals. We had gotten through the apartments. We got the electric. We got through the gas. So in regards to how this works, just so that we're all clear, if I take the 550 and put it in the amount of check column here, over here, that leaves me with 1,408 and 33 cents, correct? And then the next one was 75. That left us with 1,3333.33. And then another $75, which left you with, what was the next one? 1258, 38, and 25 would lift us 133. Is that right? 1,233 and 38 cents, something like that. Good. All right. So as we go, every single step, we're kind of keeping track. We're keeping track of what we're working with. Good. We got laundry expenses. We got renter's insurance, correct? All set with this? We got to the curtains? You ready to do the Okay. Groceries, eating out, car payment. I know we talked about the lease. Some of the differences that come with a lease. We got to gasoline. I think this is where we left off. Where we just finished up. Okay. So just to make sure that we're all again clear, this was $2. We go 33 cents?
No, 29.
29. And then I went with 15 gallon as an average. What was the fill up? What was it costing us?
You said 3.
So he's not asking how many fill-ups. He's asking how much.
No, right here. What's for one fill up cost me?
34.35.
And then down here, I went with 3, but you guys would be different depending on your habits. And then that number, whatever that is, would go into, of course, your gasoline prices. You guys got pulled over by the police?
Yeah, I've gotten
I haven't.
How about on the scenario?
No.
Do we get to uh-oh?
No.
Because this is uh-oh.
Nah, see, I just went away from the
Say,
comment.
please put this outside. I have to get out of here.
Okay, so sadly for this scenario, none of you got away from. Oh, fuck out! They were able to catch you. You cried, and you cried, and you cried. Some of you guys begged and begged and begged. And matter of fact, I talked to a police officer. He said when they cried, then I automatically give them a ticket. If they don't cry and they talk with me, sometimes I'm negotiating. I'm good, but crying makes me madder, and I then definitely give them more mad. Yes.
That's not true.
Right. So with insurance, in the amount of check, it's $175. The amount of check column 175, and you're going to subtract that on the right side.
Wait, what are we getting? What are we getting pulled over for?
Oh, I'll tell you in a second. Yeah. All right, so 175. Yep.
What's the fastest you've gone? Like, first foot getting caught speeding.
Oh, I've never been caught speeding.
What's the fastest you've ever gone?
They've never caught. No, I think the fastest I ever went was an old 98 way back in 1991.
120.
And I got to 100, and my car started shaking. I was like, "Yes."
My friend got.
And I got so scared I never did it again.
My friend got caught going 168 miles per hour. He works at a auto. His dad owns his own mechanic shop, and they mod cars out.
I'd imagine going 168.
He's like, no, I was just having fun. And someone would. He's like, I was doing 180.
Yeah, I took my foot off the gas. All right, so now had you not got insurance, $500 fine, and they potentially would tow your vehicle. Plus, you probably have to go through classes and a couple other things to get your license back, depending on the amount of points. Because at this speed,
Oh, that's stupid.
That's all you
nothing.
get for 95?
That's not that
Yeah.
bad. I got-
well, they were going to charge you with reckless op and a couple other things.
You-
But,
I was gonna say, mine-
But you
They
can-
negotiated it down to 175. All right,
I was like community service though.
so we're good to go. All right, cell phone plan. Now, here's where we get to some tricky situations. If you are on your own plan, you're paying for it all by your lonesome, no parents' assistance. You can use that plan. Okay, what's that? Oh,
You want to
So
tell
you
you
guys
guys
did.
something? Like,
so if you own the plan, it's your phone and you buying it, then you can go that route. If you are not and you're on your parents' plan, you're not anymore. Now, the one little thing I'm going to make your life a little bit easier on is I'm not going to be charging you for the phone. I'm only going to have you guys pick the plan.
Oh.
Right. So keep in mind, the thing that I'm about to show you is the plans that they have. In the real world, you guys probably had to add $30 or $40 if you're leasing the phone from the company. So here's AT&T's. Once I get the pen off. There's AT&T's plan. So you have your $85 a month unlimited elite. After 100 gigs, your service might slow. After 50 gigs, your service might slow. For this one, service may slow if the network is busy over on that one. Okay, so this is AT&T if you choose to use AT&T. If you would like to use Verizon, here's Verizon. So the $30 one, you have to bring your own plan or your own phone. And then they would put that much information available to you. After that, you have to pay for everything extra. Keep this in mind too. A lot of the companies won't stop your service. They'll just let you go over and then tell you that you went over and then charge you for it. So that's Verizon. Next one I'm going to show you guys is Boost Mobile. Some of these are nice and cheap. But keep in mind, if you're paying for cheap, you might be losing certain quality. There's T-Mobile. Now, T-Mobile may have gone up. This was pre-Sprint buyout. So this may have gone up a little bit because they now own all of Sprint's area. So it may have gotten a little better. And then the last one I have is Cricket. Cricket. When we get to the next section, you guys are going to see that in there. It says internet, cable, satellite. I have had students, and just throw this out there. Some of you guys probably are already thinking about this. You can use, like, if you do the Cricket unlimited hotspot, $60 a month, and you would have that hotspot. You could use that for your TVs and your computers and stuff like that. Just that's an option for you. It's an option. Anybody want to see any of those again? Yeah. There you go. 85, 75, 65. Yeah, if they were to get a little bit bigger, closer, more comparable to Verizon, you might see the prices drop a little bit. Yes, Brandon. What's that? You have to have some sort of communication. So even if it's like the $30 one, you do that. Okay. All right.
Just flash your
what
lights.
about
You know?
what about a piece of paper in the mail?
So,
I have Wi-Fi.
For this scenario, no. In a real life scenario, if it was like struggling to make ends meet, you might need to get rid of all internet. You probably have to have some sort of communication with some people.
Like a real life scenario.
do we need
It's my scenario. I get to make it whatever I want to because I am the omnipotent being in control of this universe. Thank you very much. Okay. Does anybody want to see the satellite options?
Go for it.
Satellite.
I'm interested.
I said no.
So there's satellite. Now you can get the satellite only. You can get satellite internet, or you can get satellite internet and phone.
What if they're
Ooh,
in
that's
Washington?
where people are going. That's kind of where everything is kind of moved nowadays, anyways. Yeah.
Do we need this though?
Nope. All of this section is optional. So all three of these that you guys see listed are in a bold-faced outline. Those are all optional. You don't have to get any of these.
Can I see internet, please?
Can I show cable? Cool. So here's cable. So again, you have cable only, cable plus internet plus phone. And phone is a legit like a line in the house. And then internet only, this is the one that people tend to fall back on. Because, like Trish said, you can probably do the Netflix, the Amazon. I know YouTube has YouTube TV now. There's other ones too that do TV stations for you. If you're a gamer, you may want to fall back on the 111. But I will tell you that at my house I have only the internet, the slow speed, $66 a month. Well, here's the problem. It's not even a problem. I have two TVs I can run at the same time, plus on my phone and an iPad. And my niece was over, and she was on her computer streaming with her teacher, and everything was working fine. Seriously, this is what we call third world problems, or first world problems. Sorry, first world problems.
My parents are on the phone, and then I go on my game, start playing. It's all over.
All right, so for this one, if anyone's kind of wondering how it's going to look to write stuff on it, it would look something like this. Let's just say that you chose to do the $111 for this one. And you had 655, 544, and then you guys can literally just put an arrow through the rest. So if this is just that specific section. So if you chose this, just put an arrow down. You don't have to put anything else. All right, so you guys ready? Here we go. Curtain, you must pick one. You must pick one, or you must pick two. You must pick a curtain, though. Curtain number one, or curtain number two.
Really going to chat right now?
All right, who are my curtain number one people? Here we go, curtain one. I will tell you that you had a good time. It was a really good concert,
Hey, I did my
but it was a $175 ticket, and you were like right front and center. My third period class, one of my students was like, well, my favorite performer is Michael Jackson, so how did that work?
So is he dead?
Yes.
No, I mean the person now. They're done. They don't have to play anymore.
It was just a straight band.
Here we go. Curtain number two. You think it's a positive one? If this was a negative one, this will be a positive. Or what if I doubled down and made two negatives?
You're a bad person. You're a bad person.
Oh! Yes!
Your credit card company
I'm rich!
sent you money back, which is unheard of. It happened to me once. It was so strange, but they sent me a check and they were like, "You can have this back. You're over."
So, who won?
I am at 577.
I got both.
I'm so good at this. I would survive so far.
I have a second job for you.
Well, I'm good now.
Yeah, but there's more coming.
There's more coming.
Life doesn't stop. All right, you guys ready for the next part? Now, the credit card is as is normal. You don't have to have a credit card. So I've given you some choices here. Okay, yes. If you are, now I will tell you in the lump sum, some big credit card companies, if you're paying $350 a month minimum, you're probably looking at around $15,000 to $20,000 in debt on that credit card. Correct, you don't have to. If you are, I like a lot of things, you're probably between $10,000 and $15,000 in debt. If I'm okay with what I have and I just have this credit card as a fallback for issues, you're probably at a $500, maybe $1,000.
No, what if you just use a debit card?
Or you're using your debit card, you don't need to use your credit card because you have enough money in your account. So you could go with that $0 a month, and we'll just put a 0 in there.
But don't you need good credit for like?
You do, that's the slightly ironic twist. But you can get that from a couple different things. If you get yourself your own cell phone plan and you pay your cell phone plan on time, that's building up credit. If you, trying to think, you could play around with using, well, actually, this is actually a side note, a total side note. When you guys use your debit cards or credit debit cards from the bank that are attached directly to your money in the bank, I've been told by the bank people in the bank and somebody when I called them and asked them about some stuff that I should always use it as a credit card. Because if you look at your debit card, matter of fact, if you pull out your debit card right now, you would see on there either a MasterCard symbol or a Visa symbol. Okay? Those protect you up to $5,000 or $8,000. Right? So there'll be a protection from the credit card company. But if you do it as a debit and you type in your code and they have access to your bank account, they could wipe you out. Now the bank has to go through a little bit more research and try to find some stuff, and they can potentially get you your money back. But they're going to wipe you out right now. Whereas a credit card has a little bit more protections in it.
I was always told that if you use your chip and punch it in, it's like-
You're supposed to, but I used my chip and had my card hacked a couple times. So yeah, so I typically, when it says debit or credit, I just choose credit every single time. It doesn't affect anything specifically on your end. It still just pulls it the same way. All right, health insurance for now, you do have to purchase one of the two.
Do you live off the government?
We are, no, you may not. No, now for this situation, we're actually living in, whether you were a fan or not, this was part of the law at the time, you are living in an Obamacare situation. You must purchase one of the two. We have it, but the original version, there was a penalty if you didn't purchase it. If you did purchase it, then you were covered, and you didn't really have to worry about it. Now, it's still there, but you don't have to have it by law. They're almost the same thing. So people are asking what's the difference between these two? Has to do with this number right here. Okay, so let me explain. A deductible is what you have to pay. So you go, if you pay the $250 a month for your health insurance, and you get in an accident and it's $30,000 of damage. You have medical bills, you had a hospital stay, you had an ambulance drive, you had all these things that went along with it. You're responsible for $1,000. The health insurance company will take care of the other $29. Versus this one, you'll pay a little bit less up front, but that $30,000 bill, you're now responsible for $7,500, and the insurance company will take care of the other $22,500. Yes, sir.
I can relate to this. When I was younger, when I first started motocross, I broke my leg. And we had a minimal plan for me. My parents hated me for a while. And then they put me
Yeah, I've had,
so I got back on the bike.
my buddy has a version of this in regards to his I'm trying to think how it works. It's a health savings account kind of sort of. So what happens with him is after $6,000 is spent, from that point on, everything is paid for. But up to $6,000, he's responsible for it. So if you go to the hospital, you get medication up to $6,000, it's all out of your pocket. But then after that, you're free and clear. So there was years where he would pay like $3,000 and never come close. So there was times when he was like, all right, we got to get sick. Come on. We're so close.
Someone break fingers.
Yeah. Or it would happen where he was having a really, really bad year and no one was getting sick. But then the years that he was doing really well, everyone was getting sick and he was losing the full $6,000. No, actually, it was other stuff. She had a gallbladder out and all sorts of stuff. All right. No matter how hard you try, however, we're always getting stuck. There isn't enough income to pay for all your bills. Now, I'm going to throw this out here real quick. If you are above zero, you don't have to do this. If you are, this is going to be some nice extra cash in your pocket. Okay? And if you're below zero, you need to do this to get yourself back in the positives. So I actually did some research. This was actually from last year, so this may have actually gone up a little bit. This is pre-COVID. The job I'm looking at is DoorDash. Okay? Now, You can replace this with Grubhub if you would like to, or Uber Eats. Regardless, hold on just a second. Let me throw this up here, and then we'll talk. So this is just for Ohio, by the way. On average, you can pull in around $38,404 a year if you're like doing this regularly. If you're intense and you really want to just get rid of everything else and just do DoorDash, potentially up to $70,000 a year. You guys, however, you're just doing the weekends and random things here and there. So you pulled in a year, $14,408. Divide that by 12, and it comes out to $1,266. Okay. So what you do here, and I'll show you on the next slide, you take the 1,266, and let's say that you had negative $400. Well, now you're at 866. Okay. All right. Yes. Now go ahead and tell me your problem with DoorDash. Go for it. Not for this scenario. Now, next one we do, where we're doing the roommates, I'm going to throw some stuff out to you. You guys can play with. Okay, so with this job, everyone should be back in above zero form. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is if you have questions or you need help with anything, when I come around, just get my attention. Otherwise, pass those to the center, and I will take them from you. You guys are all good?
Yeah.
Michael, you still working on it? Okay.
Wait,
Both okay? All three of you guys are good?
Wait, no, maybe I did it.
Oh, she's still doing math over there?
No, that
You guys are all set back here?
wait, this is
Yes.
All right, guys, go ahead. Get those, note packet out. The one I just gave you. And I just realized something. I never collected your notes from last chapter. So not today, but probably tomorrow, I'll collect those from you guys. So if you're missing any blanks from the last set of notes, I'm giving you 24 more hours to get yourself caught up. Okay, Michaela, did you catch that? Okay. Okie dokie. All right, Michaela, can you see that screen? Okay. Extra?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up.
I am trying to find something. Do you need to go back to first grade?
No, I counted correctly. Someone in the back told me that there wasn't another one, so it came up with
How dare you make me walk all the
that was such, I got cramped.
way.
Yeah, getting so old.
Back out.
Such an invalid. Okay, so one more time, just to repeat the notes from the last chapter. I'll probably get from you guys tomorrow. So if you're missing any of the blanks, one, the notes are on the online classroom, so you guys can go back in there, fill those in. Two, keep in mind, I do count each of the blanks in the notes. So I want to go back through those and check those out. So I'll get those tomorrow from you guys. So this new section we get into, we are talking about different types of economic systems. Now, I know that's kind of a generic phrase, but a lot of this stuff, as we start talking about it, we're going to start talking about capitalism, socialism, communism, all the isms, right? Dictatorships, as well as totalitarian dictatorships, authoritarian. So all those things kind of come into play. So we're dealing with government and economics during this whole unit. I'm going to kind of come at it from an economic standpoint, but there's no way of talking about it without talking politics as well. So you'll see kind of where they connect. But there are 3 questions that we have to fundamentally understand to help us understand the economic systems themselves. And they are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So you guys are only filling in exactly just the parentheses. What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Now, again, on the big picture, we can look at these. Is that easier to see or better or worse? Easier? Good. Yeah, the lovely. I cannot wait until these things go away. Oh.
They don't even do anything. It's just holes in the top.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
like, look,
there's all. It's
see that?
it's one of those things where as long as we have them up, like there was one class I had where it was where Brandon was sitting and there was 2 people right in front of him. And because there was just enough distance, so now it's 3 feet. They minimized it to 3 feet. And then there was someone that was 2 seats away, but there was 2 pieces of plastic barrier. So there's all sorts of qualifications to avoid the quarantining stuff.
Illegally,
Yeah.
6 feet away, but.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. I know.
It's like, no one sits
Well, No, I will tell you that the day that these, I came, actually it was a Tuesday. Wednesday I came in and they were up. Tuesday I went downstairs to the staff meeting and they had one on a table as a, hey, this is what we're putting up in our rooms. And I was like, I don't know. Came in on Wednesday, and for those who had me last semester, came in, was Tuesday? Yeah, came back Wednesday and all of a sudden they were up. And I went and sat in the back. And for those who are behind them in the back, it's legit like muffled. Like everything is like a little bit harder to hear. When you guys talk to me, like I'm doing a lot more of the, sorry, I'll say that one more time. I'm so sorry I couldn't hear you. Yeah. So Mrs. Goodwin actually came into my room and she's like, so what do you think? And I was like, no, I hate them. I was honest with her. I was like, I understand what you're doing. I still hate them. Now this actually kind of does tie in to something over here. One of the economics that we deal with is called command economics, right? But let's go back to the questions. I just want to connect it to what you guys are talking about. The questions themselves are very generic, open-ended. They can help us with figuring out which economic systems we're talking about, but they're also questions that are asked all the time. You actually have been asking them probably, some of you guys maybe 8th grade through sophomore visitation. Because if I'm looking at the first question, what to produce as a student, when you guys were in 8th grade, you were introduced to, hey, there's this place called the Career Center, right? Didn't they have like the 8th grade tours? Anybody go on the 8th grade tour? Okay. And then 9th grade, nothing really big. 10th grade, we had a road show. And then you guys had the opportunity to come out for the sophomore visitation. That then made your brain go, what do I want to do here? Do I want to stay here for 2 more years or do I want to go to the Career Center for 2 years? Right? So that's the question, what to produce. And then when you get here or when you make your choices, how do I produce? How do I want to do this? Do I want to go into building trades? Do I want to go into cosmetology? Do I want to go into DMT? How do I want to spend these next 2 years? And then who is this for? Who is your customer? Yourself. Yeah. You guys are doing this for you. One, right, to make your life a little bit easier rather than the full 8 periods. Who in here had 9 or 10 periods at their homeschool? Right? Does anybody have 11? There's been some schools that have 11. 12? Jeez. Right? And that's you guys sitting in a classroom all day long, right? Cloverleaf used to have the block scheduling. Cloverleaf still go back to 7. Because they used to do the block scheduling and it was kind of. So We can look at it from that perspective. From who in here is potentially looking at starting their own business? Okay.
What was that?
Anyone who's potentially looking at starting their own business, these questions have to be asked, right? What do I want to produce? How am I going to produce it? Do I want to do old school, new school? Do I want to go back to vintage versions? Do I want to go up to new versions? Michael had a presentation he gave to the teachers last week. Was it last week? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So all that to say, a way to get some students to come in, he actually did a Minecraft of his classroom. Like, how cool is that? So how to produce, and then for whom? Who's my clients? In regards to traditional economics, we look at that and it sounds exactly like it is. Traditional. It's all based on traditions, customs, habits.
What's number 4?
I'm getting there. Market economics. Has anyone been to a garage sale in your lifetime? That's a great example of a market system, right? There's no government taxation. It's just you and the person selling it haggling. What do you want? I want $40. Hi, I got 20. How about 35? How about 23? And you just find that middle ground. That's market economics, okay? Command economics, again, going back to a school, would be a good example of a school, because you guys, this is what you're doing. This is what you get, right? Another version of that, if you think about it, would be all the laws we have to follow. It's a command economic system. All the health, anyone in chef and restaurant here? I don't think. Chef and restaurant has to follow certain standards. That's command economics. But the fourth one is mixed economics.
You see where you're at.
Oh. Are you here yet? Or are you past this?
They are working on the brochures, then we're gonna get to it
Okay.
next week.
Brochures? You're cool.
They're creating a hill, redneck water park.
Redneck what? As a class?
No, that's their business that they're creating.
Nice.
That sounds so fun.
Redneck.
I have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Should there be like duct tape on the slides?
Duct tape on the slide.
That's so fun.
Duct tape on the slides. That's lovely.
Yeah, is this like second round?
No, he said redneck water park or whatever.
Yeah, redneck
So-
water park. Yeah.
You know, a hole gets punched in the slide, duct tape.
That's super glue. Super good.
That would be so awesome.
Okay, now when we look at mixed economics, it has a little bit of traditional, has a little bit of market, and it has a little bit of command.
Wow.
We have to draw those arrows.
Nope. So in reality, the one that truly exists is mixed economics. The entire debate between Biden and Trump was all about which one do we want more and which one do we want less. If you
Yeah.
break it down to just the basics, do I want more government involvement or do I want less government involvement? Right. So we could look at it from social perspective. We could look at it from financial perspectives. Right. But this is the big debate. How much of which one do we want? If I was living in North Korea, even North Korea, a dictatorship, I'm not sure if you guys are aware how strict of a place this is. When Kim Jong-un, who's the new guy in charge, his dad died about 10 years ago. Trump referred to him as the Rocket Man. When he was first took office from his father, after his father passed away, his uncle, his father's brother, made a comment about Kim Jong-un. It wasn't even that bad of a comment. He just disagreed with something. Kim Jong-un had him killed and his aunt and his cousins killed as a way to get rid of all of the dissension. Right? So that would be, in my opinion, a dictatorship. Very, very much command. But do they have, from time to time, little markets pop up for people to sell little odds and ends or vegetables? Yes, it's very, very small, but it does exist. And then their whole system is based off of tradition regarding Kim Jong-un being like this god. And so you look at traditions in that sense of the word as well. All right. Now, these goals are goals we have for the United States, our society. They don't typically fit all the way around the world. Efficiency, we typically try to do this. If you look at any fast food restaurant from 10 years ago to today, how they make things and how they create things and how they cook things and how they store things, all about efficiency. Who in here has done DoorDash, Uber Eats, or anything like that, where you just order it and it comes to your house, or you order it on the app and you just go pick it up, walk in, grab it, go. Right. So efficiency is big for us. Freedom, we try to provide a system where you guys have as much freedoms as possible. And that's changing all the time in regards to what's free, what's not free. And not free as in I don't have to pay for it, but what can I have access to? Like this is a big one that's still happening in the States. Guns is one that still keeps on coming up, but the other one that comes up a lot in debate and in legislation, try to get it on the ballot, is the marijuana legalization. So there's all sorts of stuff on that end. Security, does anybody know anyone who has ever collected unemployment insurance or welfare or anything like that? Those are all considered safety nets, things to fall back on, the government provides, or you've helped build into your system. And then equity, economic equity. This is one that can be different depending on the society, because some societies think of other things as equal that we don't necessarily think is equal. So sometimes social values can adjust this as well. All right, last but not least, growth. Growth. Yeah. The biggest part of this is in economic growth, we are looking at innovation, right? I going through my lifetime, I have gone from no cable to cable, which was like an old box, you had to turn the dial, to cable through a digital box, then cable right into your TV, then no knobs in your TVs, all the way through to now I can just stream a movie on my phone. And so we're talking about new and better and developing new stuff. There's your growth and innovation. Okay, I will come back to this tomorrow. Michaela, we are good to go. I will see you tomorrow. You touched them. You have COVID, so no.
You're right. I do.
Mr. Hollow,
Yes.
the notes that we have to turn in tomorrow, do you have a copy of them? Like,
They're on Moodle.
like the paper.
On the bottom of the left column. There you are.
Your son goes to you. Sorry, I don't answer myself.
Danielle.
Oh, it's Elliot. And Jared. Hi, Jared. What's up, Danielle? Absolutely,
Yeah.
Turn around, cheek. Right there.
Try it again.
V5.
Okay, ready, Mr. Hollow?
More forward.
Yeah, you ready?
behind it.
This is
So,
so.
and
So just last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here, let me do it again.
and literally.
Oh,
Alright, never mind.
but I did kind of.
You could even do better, right? I love you.
Are you sure?
And that's the exact same stuff.
Are you sure?
Oh, is that for everyone?
Yes. Does that look familiar?
Yeah.
We are. We're actually gonna get pretty far today, I hope. Yeah, you're kidding me, right?
Well, okay, what's the bill of rights?
You'll see on Friday.
I'm not gonna be here Friday. so I'm
Oh.
gonna need it tomorrow.
It'll be on Moodle,
I'm gonna need it tomorrow. You have the paper copy for tomorrow?
maybe,
That I can have, yeah, after
Maybe.
school.
or you could just print out tomorrow.
But I wanted to
While
color,
you're-
and it's supposed to, I like color. There's a color printer down there. I like color printer. Winnie,
Yeah.
can I help you? with that?
I will do my best to have it for you by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. You're amazing.
Oh, yes, only on my bad days, I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for confirming that. And it's amazing. 3 of your assignments just disappeared. What's that?
Oh,
You said remind you about a story or something?
Okay, so I got to remember what we were talking about. It'll come back to me as I talk. So let's do that.
Why is so confused?
Okay. Do we get to this? I believe we got to this. Awesome. So as we go, if I remember the story, I should have written it down. Okay. There we go. Okay. So regarding civil trials, that was kind of like this, the basic run-of-the-mill court cases you are allowed a jury. Regarding the Eighth Amendment, punishment for crime. So we had started to talk about excessive bail, excessive fines, no. Right? So the example we were bringing, I brought up, and again, I'm just going back for a quick second here. If I'm arrested for shoplifting, a bail of $1 million might be a bit much. Right? Now, if I am doing grand theft auto and I just stole myself a Ferrari, maybe $1 million could apply depending on the amount of the vehicle, right?
What if you returned it?
I actually have a funny story about that one too. My uncle, he has since passed away. I didn't laugh at that part. I was laughing at something else he did. Sorry. Kind of came out in the wrong order. So my uncle Phil went to a dealership, gosh, it was back in like 2000, 2001-ish, and went for a test drive. And in the paperwork, never said how long the test drive would be or where he could go. So he took the test drive from Parma, Ohio, And when the police finally found him, because there was a warrant out for his arrest for theft, he had driven to Texas. So they arrested him in Texas, flew him back to Parma. I think he served a month or something in jail, and had to pay like for the vehicle usage or whatever. But yeah, he took a test drive. Now, with regard to returning the vehicle, if I broke in outside of business hours, there's ways of going down that road. But so again, it has to fit the crime, right? So stealing a candy bar is not going to be $1,000 fine. It'll probably be like a $25 or $30 fine and maybe a couple of hours of service if they really wanted to even follow through with it. I'm trying to think. When I was in high school, what did I do? I do remember getting in trouble, and I had to serve. I think it was like 40 hours of service hours at the baseball field in Broadview Heights. Hey, I don't remember what I did. Oh, I do remember. Stupid. Really wasn't even that big of a deal. I put potatoes in the back of people's tailpipes. And then I took like the wood fences that you guys, like the 2 posts, and I took the middle part out and put them in the middle of the road as like speed bumps. Yeah, so.
You think you can close the road, like put road close signs, and kick off the same thing?
Might. So I don't know, I think someone gave me one of my friends. No, I honestly, I didn't remember. I do remember it was Broadview Heights, and that was the only thing I could think of that I did in Broadview Heights. So.
What else did you do outside of Broadview Heights?
Actually nothing. That was really it. That was like the one night my buddies and I were over his house. It was Josh's house. And we were bored. That was it. That was all it was. We were like, all right, we're done. What do we want to do? I don't know. Let's go like walk the neighborhood. And while we were out, took off the fence posts, and then one of my buddies had a backpack with potatoes in it. So I was like, oh, this is playing. Because he was planning on doing this the whole time. I didn't know. I just helped. Okay, so the cruel and unusual punishment. So there was one that happened in Ohio. Did I tell you guys about the fat guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so the fat guy with the injection, and he said, I'm too fat, it's cruel and unusual. Governor DeWine was like, too bad, suck it up. You're literally gonna die. The medicine, that was the other one. Did I tell you about the medicine? Okay, it was bad. And they felt, for those who had left early, the medicine that they switched over to put you to sleep, but you felt the other drug kill you. So you could feel the heart stop. You had all the sensations, but you couldn't wake up and say anything. So you were basically screaming in your own head the whole time you were being killed by that second medicine. So they switched over to a different medicine now that puts you to sleep and desensitizes you.
How did they figure that out if they can't see?
They have the monitors up. So when they put the first medicine in, everything dulls down, right? But they notice that the monitors on the brain still remained relatively active. Typically, it kind of slows down to a small little. But then the moment they pushed in the other medicine, the sensors on the brain started like going like crazy. But they couldn't stop it because that was the drug that was going to kill you. So they had to like let it finish its job. So they realized that the brain was going active, and when they did more research, they found out that the drug desensitizes, like your body shuts down, but your awareness stays with you. As the more research they found out about the drug. So they don't use that one anymore.
They take like a wire or like the first.
No, the second drug takes about a minute or two to finalize everything. But for the minute or two, you felt the entire, like you felt the heart die. You felt the muscles cramping out.
Yeah, but like, did they like find out like the first time that they used that one that like it wasn't good?
Yeah. So it was within the first or second person that they were like, okay, we got it. Over. All right. Other punishments too that I came across that I found that are still allowed in the U.S. Some states still have them. Lethal injection is the one we just talked about. That's the most common. Electrocution. So there are still states that have the lightning chair. Gas chamber still exists as well. Firing squad. Last time it was used in 2010. So you can choose for a firing squad in that state. I have to look at and see what state it was. And they still have hanging as well, some states.
Oh, really?
Is it like public or what?
No, it will be in the prison, so outside of the view of everyone else. The firing squad, the way they have that set up is the person would be against the wall, and then everyone is given a rifle on the firing squad, but only one person is given the actual bullet, everyone else is given a blank.
I thought it was the opposite way around. One person was given a blank, the other one was given bullets. Back in the old days, I thought that was.
I thought they have better shots now. So, I can go back and look, but that's the way I remember. But it could be
So
right.
if you don't die,
If you don't die, now we have an issue.
then you get shot.
Yeah, you gotta do it again. Same thing with the electric chair. If you guys have seen the Green Mile, in there, it doesn't work, and they have to so they gotta keep going. Yeah,
Why would they even have more than one person for the firing squad? Like,
so that the people doing the firing squad wouldn't have the guilt of knowing that they were the one that killed this guy.
oh,
Yeah. It's more of a psychological thing for the shooters, not the person being shot. Unless, of course, you were a person that was like, this guy deserves this, give me the bullet. I'll do it.
Wait, are they just picking random people off the street?
No, they would bring in trained, like people from SWAT or something like that. The problem with hanging too, for those who aren't aware, if it doesn't work right away, doesn't snap your neck, then you basically choke to death. The whole time you're hanging there. As it's supposed to, for those who aren't aware, the knot in the back, the way it's set up is when you fall and it pulls, it's supposed to break your neck right away, and then you die. But if you don't, then you just dangle and choke to death.
Sounded like.
It sounds a little bit cruel, sounds a little bit unusual.
Yeah.
The other thing too, this was actually, I think we had the guillotine, but it was not used anywhere near as much as they did in France during the whole French Revolution. The fun story, I shouldn't say fun, it's a unique story about the guillotine. One, Sir Guillotine was killed by the guillotine. So he was killed in the French Revolution. He helped invent it, and then because he was part of the bourgeois, he was one of the people killed by it. Another person, I'm not sure exactly who it was, but I do remember reading the story that it was a scientist and he wanted to have some sort of scientific results from his death. So he had his assistant go to the basket and say, count how many times I blink while my head's in the basket. And I think the assistant counted 13 blinks before the brain stopped acting or working, which means the brain is still functioning while, I think they said about 10 to 15 seconds after the head is gone is when you actually die mentally.
Means that can't you feel that?
You may not feel it, but you'll see, you can see your body. Which then brings up stories of people I've heard of, like famous people that were decapitated. Like they had to, once it happened, they were like, oh, that's not good. And then, and see.
You ever heard of the chicken that lived for years?
Yes, they would feed it through the tube, it had no brain, it was cut right above the brain stem. So the base operations of the chicken stayed alive, but it had no eyes, no ears. They would put chicken feet in the throat where the food would go down, and it survived for a couple years or years. Regarding death penalty, these are the states right here in green that does currently still have the death penalty. The 28 of the 25 still have it, and 22 do not allow death penalty, and they are in the dark. What's that?
Illinois doesn't have it.
Michigan? That actually goes back to the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, when he was extradited back to Ohio. That was one of the big reasons, was they did not have the death penalty. They don't have that. So. All right. Number 9. Kind of an anticlimactic amendment, although it's really important in an interesting way. What they're basically saying in here is just because it's not written in the Constitution doesn't mean you still don't get those protections. It's kind of a vague, open-ended kind of coverall. Again, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed or misrepresented to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So probably the best example I can think of happening right now in our lifetimes is the LGBTQ community. Right? There's nothing in the Constitution regarding that group of people. That does not mean they're denied the right to vote. They're not denied the right to due process. They're not denied just because they're not written in specifically in the Constitution. Doesn't mean I can deny or disparage them. That's kind of where number 9 comes in. It's, again, it's kind of like a coverall. Number 10, this is the big one that many conservatives look at this one in a sense to argue states' rights. The two big ones that you are going to hear about that deal with this one specifically are Roe v. Wade. And this one's going to be a fun one. I don't want to butcher this. Obergefell v. Ohio. Sorry, you don't spell it right, that's fine, because I think I just misspelled it. But this is the case regarding abortion rights throughout the country. And this one is the case dealing with marriage for gay couples throughout the country. Now, the reason that the 10th Amendment applies directly to these is I'm trying to think of in the courts, in the Supreme Court, the dissents, the people that did not win the numbers, apparently, both times said these things are not denied to people. However, that's reserved to the states to deal with that. So your license, when you get your driver's license, that is a state ID. Now, all the other states recognize that ID. So if I go to Florida and I pull out my Ohio driver's license, they'll go, oh, you're from Ohio, but that's okay, you're fine. Now, that's changed a little bit. Has anybody noticed the new license? The star on it? Yep. Well, there's one, I have to laugh because I'm not sure why it took us so long to figure this out. Under 21, what directions does yours go? Up and down, sideways, right? And then over 21, it's horizontal. Right? So this is over 21. Under 21, your guys go like this. For years, to catch underage drinkers, they were like, well, we have a pink background. And then we have a different colored background. So that way we know right away. It was like, well, just turn it this way. Somebody at the meeting had to have been like, you guys are idiots. Why don't you just turn it this way? So yeah, this is the new one. And you'll see up here it has the Ohio, and on the back it has the Ohio flag. All right, so if I get a Florida license, it would look almost identical now with the Florida in the top right corner and the Floridian flag in the back. All right, but they did that in an effort to deal with terrorist activities from 9/11. So this is actually a result of 9/11. 2001 is now affecting you guys in 2020. The other thing is that star in the top left corner. If you don't have that star, you need to bring other confirmations of who you are for flights. If you have the star, they will accept it across the United States as a legitimate. You would have the full background check. Like, for me to get this one, it took 2 weeks. They had to do a background check and send me all the information and send me this. If you don't, you can get a license right away, but you have to go you have to bring a passport and some other identification to get a flight. Right. So a lot of that has to do with that. But these are still state issued. So Ohio can adjust little things here and there. But that's a reserved power. There are voting laws, marriage laws. There's one. Marriage in some states, I believe Massachusetts was the youngest, was 12. They have different various ages by law, but that's a state issue. It's reserved. There's no federal number to get married. The states decide that. So when we're talking about Roe v. Wade, this whole case started in Texas. Roe was under the age of 18. She wanted to have an abortion. She already had 2 kids. State of Texas had different laws that were more strict. She could have gotten an abortion had she gone over to Louisiana, or if she went to Arizona or Utah. Or Oklahoma, but she was in state of Texas, and Texas had, you had to have a doctor's permission. There had to be medical reasons. So she wasn't denied an abortion, it was just that she had to get more, it was more strict to get the abortion. And that was the argument against allowing it to be a nationwide thing, was, hey, if Ohio has its laws, then let Ohio deal with it, Ohio's ways. Who in here has heard of the heartbeat law in some of the different states? Okay, I know that they came across Governor DeWine's desk a while back. I don't think he signed it. I know South Carolina signed it. North Carolina signed it. There was another state, I think, I can't remember which one it was. But the idea with that one is in the state, and they're banking on the 10th Amendment for this one. If there's a heartbeat, you cannot have an abortion. So those states, and there's a couple other ones I have to go back and check, are kind of fighting this and saying, hey, this is reserved to us. This is our law. Roe v. Wade kind of fights that. This is back in the 70s. Obergefell v. Ohio, this actually was an Ohio couple. They went to, I think it was Massachusetts or Connecticut, got married, gay couple, legalized in that state, came back to Ohio, tried to file for benefits, and they said, well, we don't recognize gay marriage in Ohio, so no, you don't get these different things. So they took it to court, and there's a reason behind it. It's actually Article 5 of the Constitution, something called full faith and credit. So remember the license thing I mentioned? If I'm driving in Florida with my Ohio license, they'll accept my Ohio license. So what Obergefell argued was, well, if I'm married in Connecticut, how can you not accept that in Ohio? Shouldn't that license be accepted full faith and credit across the borders? So you can hear arguments from both, but the big argument is this is reserved to the states. If the federal government does not have that power given to them, it should be reserved to the states. Like hunting laws, who here's a hunter? In Pennsylvania, you have hunting license. You have to get a certain license to hunt. There's fishing license. We have different ages. We used to have cigarettes was 18 and over. Now it's 21 and older. So Ohio just changed that. Yeah.
Is it just, I know some states don't have to follow that. Is it just up to states?
For which part?
I know some states still sell to 18 in some states.
Yeah, correct. It's only in Ohio. Yeah, so in Ohio, it's only 21 and older. Actually, as I'm saying that now, wasn't it Cuyahoga County that did that? I think Cleveland did it first. Like Cleveland changed the law in Cleveland. Then I think it went to Cuyahoga County. I'm not sure if it's a statewide thing as I'm talking about it right now.
I think it is.
If it is in Ohio, if I go to Pennsylvania, no. I don't know, whatever their laws are. You guys know the smoking ban we have in Ohio, right? If I go to Pennsylvania, like you guys have lived in it, so you don't even recognize it. So since 2007, you are not allowed to smoke in public locations, like restaurants used to have smoking, not smoking. That's gone. You can't do that. If you're at the convention center downtown Cleveland, no smoking. If you're in certain buildings, no smoking. It's just very common for all of us. This is what we've lived in. I had a group of kids I was coaching. We went to Pennsylvania, like maybe a year or two after this law went into passed in Ohio. And we were in Pittsburgh. And we walked into a location. And all the kids were like, oh my gosh, it's so smoky. Isn't it illegal? And I was like, in Ohio, but not in Pennsylvania. So the laws can be different depending on the state you live in. All right. 11th Amendment, not horribly exciting, honestly. I can't sue another state. So if something happened and I was upset with Pennsylvania, I can't sue them. I can sue Ohio or I can sue the Ohio Attorney General, but I can't sue the state itself. Yeah.
So going back to the 21, let's say you have an Ohio license and try to go to Pennsylvania. Like, does the license matter? Because you got in Ohio is just your age.
Just your age. Yeah. So the license, as long as I'm following their laws, I'm fine. Anything of other situations I've heard of. I know there's a difference in regards to the state. Like Ohio controls all the liquor sales. Pennsylvania has a different variation on their laws for liquor sales. So if you go to an Ohio location to buy liquor, they have to have a certain license and certain things, whereas Pennsylvania it's a little bit less strict. As long as if it's 18 and older in Pennsylvania and I'm in Pennsylvania. Now, here's the other thing. No, if I go over there and I get to smoke, when I smoke over there, it's fine. If I bring the cigarettes back into Ohio, it's illegal in Ohio. Even though you bought them legally over in Pennsylvania, you can't bring them back across the border. Same thing happened when weed was legalized in Colorado. Everyone was like, yes. People were driving to Colorado, flying to Colorado, buying weed, and then coming back to Ohio. And it's still illegal in Ohio. Right, so you have to, it depends on the state, yeah.
I thought it was illegal to purchase, but it was illegal to consume. Like if you were to get it given to you as a gift, therefore it was you did not purchase it.
Are you talking about the weed?
Cigarettes?
Cigarette.
I thought if you were 19, you go to Pennsylvania, get cigarettes, come back to Ohio, you won't be.
Okay.
That was my business.
Oh, it might be. I may have to go back. I'll go back and look just to check. Yeah. All right. Letter B on this one. France can't sue Ohio. Germany can't sue Ohio. They have to, if they're going to sue somebody, they're going to sue the United States of America. They can't come after a state. This one right here, Chisholm v. Georgia, the original case, again, not horribly exciting. He owned a boat. He wasn't from Georgia. Georgia gave special preferences to people with ferry boats, ferry stuff across the river. He started doing the same thing, and Georgia said, no, that's illegal. You can't do that. He was like, you can't stop me from doing this. So he sued Georgia, but he was from Mississippi. And so that went to court. And in the end, the federal government, the Supreme Court said, if he wants to sue Mississippi, he can sue Mississippi, but he can't sue Georgia. Can't sue another state. So again, not horribly exciting. 12th Amendment, however, we get into a little bit, right? The election of the president and the vice president. So the old way, and I'm going to show you guys a video here in a second, used to be, let's say that Paul and I were running together, and Xander and Spencer were running together. Xander was going for president, Spencer was going for vice president, Paul was going for president, I was going for vice president. The way that it used to work was whoever got the most popular vote would win the presidency. So even though Spencer may have been running for vice president, he got more votes than you. So he's now in the lead, and I got more votes than Paul. So now it's a runoff between us two, and whoever gets the most votes of the two guys running for vice president, running for vice president, we potentially could be president and vice president from two different parties too. That's the other thing too. So you got a Republican and a Democrat, Democrat, Republican. So it was really, really awkward. And this all happened in the election of 1800. And it was actually based, part of the ending of Hamilton's whole life was based off of this. So this is, let's see if it works, yes. Nope. Oh gosh.
Please, yo.
Come on.
Every action has its equal.
Yes. What is going on? Come on. What is going on? Yep, there it goes.
Election of 1800.
There we go.
Then we get back to politics. Please, yo. Every action has its equal opposite reaction. John Adams, Jack the guy, but he's in traction. Or Alexander Hamilton, he was missing in action. So now I'm facing Aaron Burr with his own faction. Very attractive individuals.
For those who don't know, this is Jefferson, and this is Madison.
Yorkers like his chances.
He's not very forthcoming on any particular stances.
Ask him a question that glances off the obfuscates he dances.
And they say I'm a francophile. At least they know I know where France is.
Thomas, that's the problem. See, they see Burr as the less extreme. You need to change course. A key endorsement might redeem you.
Who did you have in mind?
Don't laugh.
Who is it?
You used to work on the same staff. It might be nice. Might be nice to get Hamilton on your side.
It might be nice. It might be nice to get Hamilton on your side. Oh, yeah. Smile more. Don't let them know what's on.
This is Aaron Burr right here.
It's 1800, ladies, turn your husband, vote cover!
I don't like Adam.
Well, he's gonna lose. That's just ridiculous.
And Jefferson.
In love with France.
Yeah, it's so famous. I like that Aaron Burr. I can't believe we're here with him.
He seems approachable. Like you could grab a beer with him.
Dear Mr. Hamilton, your fellow Federalists would like to know how you'll be voting.
It's quiet up.
Dear Mr. Hamilton, John Adams does the same with James of the Great promoting.
It's quiet up.
Jackson over, we know it's Jackson over, but if you had to choose, dear Mr. Hamilton, John Adams does the same with Jackson over, but if you had to choose.
It is sir.
Alexander,
Created quite a stir, sir.
going door to door.
Openly campaigning.
Sure.
What's new?
Honestly, it's kind of tricky. Sir,
Is there anything you wouldn't do?
no, I'm chasing what I want. You know what? I learned that from you.
It's a time.
If you had to choose, you had to choose.
It's up to the delegate.
If you had to choose, you had to choose.
It's up to Hamilton.
If you had to choose, you had to choose.
People are asking to hear my voice. The country is facing a new choice. People are asking why promote. Jefferson has my vote. I never agreed with Jefferson once. Other ones have divided in front. But when all is said and all is done, Jefferson has beliefs. Burr has none.
Well, I'll be damned. Well, I'll be damned.
Hamilton's on your side.
Well, I'll be damned. Well, I'll be damned. And
You won in the landslide.
congrats on a race well run. I did give you a fight. I look forward to our partnership. As your vice president. Yeah, right. You this guy, man, openly campaigns against me. Talking about I look forward to our partnership.
It is crazy that the guy who comes in second gets to be vice president.
You know what? We can change.